Well, I suppose there's something about Easter that just screams bunny rabbits and chicks, right? So might as well put some bunnies on film, and today we're getting some chicks. Stay tuned. Alrighty, so you can see I've got my brooder all set it up. She's pretty much warmed up to temp. It'll get a little warmer than that under the light. It was a little warmer there until I started messing around a bit. But also, once you get the chicks in there, their body heat will bring the temperature up a little bit too. So you want it anywhere around 93, I believe, and 95. You might want to look online to double check on that. But I just know from my original screw holes where I put this sucker, this is where she goes, and I've had like 100% success rates with this. So, and I don't even know how accurate that old thermometer is anymore. But you get to know you're kind of set up for after a while. But for your first few times, you want to have it fairly accurate, and you want to get it around 93 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe. You can see my water. Well, you might not be able to see with there. Oh, I guess you can kind of see it's kind of yellow. That's because you put this sort of powder that you can get usually at your farm supply store, and it's a stress aid stuff. It's basically Gatorade for the little chickies, and it just helps them out after being transported for a day. They're day old when you get them, so that means they've absorbed their yolk sac and all that from the egg, so they're good for a little while. They've got all their nutrients for the first little bit of their life. So you just give them the water at first and teach them how to drink. That's the most important thing. You want to keep them hydrated. And then shortly after, you just introduce them to the food, which I just, you take your regular chicken feeder thing that takes a jar on top and just leave it without a jar, and they'll climb in there. And of course, they're going to poop in it and all that, but you keep after it a little bit, and but you let them learn how to drink first, then put this in, fill it with some feed, and they'll start pecking at their chick starter after they've had a drink. Anyways, you can see I've got paper towel down here. That was because a friend of mine actually got me onto that. It's a little easier to clean than the wood chips. Also, it doesn't confuse them so much because if you guys have put them in wood chips before, they tend to like to eat them. So, with the paper towel, there's no confusion. They're not eating little wood chips. Anyways, so we'll just do the... There. So, I went up to the local feed store, which in Elmville is Richie's Feed Needs. And I got our phrase birds, which is 25 White Rock Cornish Cross, or as I call them, the X-Men. You know, Cornish Cross, X, and they grow like mutants, so we call them the X-Men here. So the trick with these little guys is, for this first little while, is you're basically mom. So you gotta teach them to have a little drink by dipping their beak into the water. And usually once the first few start to drink, the other ones will kind of follow suit, because nobody wants to be left out. And we did order 24 for our first run, and they usually give you 1 or 2 extras, so there's probably 25 or 26 in here. I'll do a final count later. And it looks like they all made it, all safe and sound. And they transport them in these little cardboard boxes, and they huddle together, and they stay plenty warm. And we've had lots of luck with Phrase. This is our 3rd year ordering from them, and we've had plenty of 100% success rates with these guys. It's basically the biggest hatchery, I think, in Ontario is Phrase. So basically any one of your local feed stores, if you're going to get chickens, it's going to be probably from Frey's. Now this is, you can see that the temperature's gone down here, and that's just basically because I'm creating current and moving all the air around. Like I said, these guys will have to huddle together for warmth. Ideally, you want to keep the brooder around 93 to 95 degrees. If they're cold, you'll see them huddled together. That means you got to get your light closer. And if they're spreading around, then they're fairly comfortable. You've done a good job. And you know, if they're really spread around and hiding in the corners away from the light, it means you've got it way, way, way too hot and you're frying your birds. But like I said, I've had this set up for, well, 3 years now, and I know it works. This is the particular best spot in my basement, actually, and I've had 100% success rate the last, like, 5 times I've bred birds in the spot, so. Oh, the other thing I failed to mention is you want to just check your birds' bums for poopy butt, just to make sure, because the meconium poop sometimes can stick to their butt, and that's what's in the bottom of here, is that baby's first poop is the meconium poop, so don't be alarmed if it's all black and yucky looking. It's just the way it is. So, and like I said, you can see there's no food in there, and I give them a good, you know, 20 minutes or so, and then I'll put the food in, just because you want them to figure out the water first thing and foremost, you know. If anything, these guys tend to die from dehydration. Sometimes it's overcrowding too, so you want to make sure that they have good enough space. So this is basically the largest Rubbermaid tote you can buy, and that does just pretty well for about 25 birds. Some people put more in such a thing, but we set up other ones for when we start getting more. We've got a hatch upstairs that'll be coming out Easter Monday, so they'll be going in the one next door here. But anyways, so that's just another thing. And one more thing I failed to mention about the waterer is you get these little shell lip waterers for the chicks so they don't drown themselves. Some people will even put pebbles in there, and that keeps them from sleeping in there and getting their beak stuck and drowning. Because, I mean, as cute as they are, they're not exactly the brightest things in the world. But you can see they're pecking around. They're very curious, and that's why we go with the paper towel versus the wood chips. So we'll just we'll give them a little break here, let them figure out their water, then we'll get them some food. In the meantime, I'll show you the paperwork they come with. Okay, so this is the sheet that Frey's sends you for the day-old chicks, which gives you the recommendations for the brooder and all that. Tells you what they're transported in, and the recommended brooder temperature, which is 92 degrees Fahrenheit. I said 93 and 95. 92 is fine too. And like you said, like when you're moving around in there, the current's going to change the temperature and all that. It's like kind of when it's at a standstill. So when you first walk up to it, that's the most important temperature. And like I said, it gets a little warmer as they get into it because of the body heat situation. But they give you all the kind of standard recommendations right here on your sheet. And if it's your first time brooding and all that, I suggest you go with everything they say here. And it's not going to really give you too much of a fuss. They tell you what to do with the turkeys and the starter birds and your ready to lays. But today we're dealing with the old chicks. And like I said, this is our 3rd year doing it. And we've not had a problem with this company. Frey's seems to be a pretty good hatchery. And another thing that our local place here does is they give us an update on anything that's going around right now. And Richie's is good for giving you the printout on it. And last year there was a bit of a problem. I think 3 years was the biggest bad year for ILT, or ILT as they call it. But it's basically a respiratory disease that's going around right now. And you can have a problem with bringing in birds from other pastures. So if you're buying birds this year and you're in the Ontario area, just keep that in mind and make sure you're not buying sick birds. Because apparently it's going around this year. So with the ILT, you'll hear them having a hard time breathing. They might be lethargic. There'll be a bit of a crackling to their breath. And sometimes there's like a discharge to their nose and eyes. And I'm pretty sure this all covers that. And you can always pause the video and give that a read if need be. Or if not, just hit the googly tube and you'll be able to find out lots on this here. But yeah, it looks like it is going around this spring, so just keep that in mind, folks. For feed, we're just using the Master Feeds Chick Starter. I mean, just about anything's just as well. We like Master Feeds because they're a very good company and they make these bags out of all recyclable material and they're this, that, and the other thing, and that's their whole spiel is being good by nature. But you go ahead and use whatever that's available to you because it's probably just as well. You know, most companies are good for keeping their stuff very good in good quality just to keep their name right. Well, at least you would hope so anyways. So yeah, just go ahead, pick up whatever's at your local store, give it a go. You don't necessarily have to seek out the master feeds, but you do need chick starter, and then you'll have organic chick starter and medicated chick starter. Our experience with the organic chick starter, there's a little bit more life loss, and then with the medicated chick starter, you tend to have a higher success rate. So, as you can see, they'll climb right in there and they figure everything out, and they get after the water and everything. So they'll probably eat and drink for a little while, and then shortly after you'll see them get docile, and some of them will nap. And don't be freaked out. They kind of like lay on their side sometimes when they nap, and first time I seen that, it freaked me right out, but they're fine. But they're very lively for the first little bit, as you can see. Yes, and Raven's here with me inspecting. Is it up to par? Yeah, you approve? Okay, so Raven says it's good, so it must be good. Anyways, the other thing I'll say about raising these meat birds is make sure you get them on pasture, because they need the minerals and the bugs and all that in the dirt, and it creates a healthier, more happier bird, and you know, it's better for you to eat such a thing, you know. Anyways, till next time, you guys take her easy. Be safe.